Hey everyone, Sergio with the Rideshare Guy. Welcome to another episode, a Canadian episode of Behind the Wheel, our first, our first. Here's Earla from Toronto, as she said it. And welcome, Earla.
Thank you, Sergio. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So please introduce yourself. I know you're Uber, Lyft, let's see, Hovr, and Bolt. Well, it's called something else in Canada, but we'll talk about those. But introduce yourself, how long you've been driving, or how long you've been involved in the gig economy in general, and what you did before.
Thank you, Sergio. I have been driving for Uber for coming up on my 10-year anniversary. I was one of the founding drivers from when Lyft came to Canada. I've driven for probably four or five other companies such as Face Drive, InstaRide. I'm registered with Hovr, Canadian startup. Rocky start, but we're really hoping that a Canadian startup can, take some market share eventually. I'm also a registered driver with Hop, which is otherwise known as Bolt in Europe and other places like Africa and South America, I believe.
Yeah, so you are doing exactly what we recommend on the Rideshare Guy, right? Put all the tools in your toolbox because you never know which tool you're going to need when. And I've been saying this for 3 years. I've been to Show Me the Money. Is like, we exchange our time for money, right? As independent contractors, our time is for sale to the highest bidder, and the more bidders, the better. So, what did you do before, Earl?
I was a sales executive in advertising.
Okay.
I started that career working with AT&T Interactive.
Okay. And so what made you kind of quit the corporate world and get into the gig world?
I had a personal challenge with a separation and divorce, and although I'm Canadian born and bred, I lived in Las Vegas for 17 years, and
Okay.
that's where most of my sales career was. And I decided to relocate back home to Canada after that.
Okay. Well,
It was challenging to, get back into the sales and marketing, and I decided I didn't want corporate anymore.
so that's a huge leap from Vegas to Canada.
Yes.
So how did that come about? Why not from Vegas to LA or something? Or-
Well, it was, it, mm, why did I go home? Because the company that I had moved to actually downsized and relocated to like Kansas or something like that. And I
Okay.
didn't want to move to Kansas. So I moved
Okay.
home.
Okay. All right. So now that we know a little bit about you, Um, I asked this to everyone, which I'm going to ask from the start now, this time, because I changed the timing, but I ask it to everyone. I'm sure you know what it is. Now you're involved with four rideshare companies, right? You have Lyft, you have Uber, you have Hop, which is Bolt, and you have Hover.
Lovely.
So when you do go out, do you turn all your apps on, like fire them all up and, you know, earn a
No,
living, or what do you do?
no, I do not. I found that my phone, which is a Galaxy phone, can't handle having so many apps open. It decreases the efficiency and speed of the phone. And so I found that for me, it's two at a time. I also am a Maximo user, and I'm
Okay.
really finding it extremely useful. I am getting closer and closer as I use it. I'm coming up on 1 month, but I'm getting closer to the point where I'm ready to go full automation with Maximo.
Okay.
Um, and so I typically will go out with just Uber and Lyft.
Okay.
I keep trying Hop, but Hop is very invasive in the program,
Okay.
and it makes it difficult. And of course, I've provided some information because the Hop app is a bit glitchy. The information that is provided to drivers is inaccurate or misleading, and so I'm not enjoying the Hop experience.
Okay. Well, now, if they're new, I mean, you got to give them a little bit of time. Even after the decade, right? Uber, Lyft, they have their own glitches. We know about those, right?
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about Hop or Bolt from Europe. Did they come to market with like super high promises, like, oh, you're gonna make more money and you're gonna keep more of the rider fare and things like that. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, they came to market with a promise of only a 15% commission.
Okay.
But hidden in their terms and conditions and, not so publicly available even to drivers was the fact that they also have a booking fee. But what's even more frustrating is the booking fee is variable. I
Oh,
was just looking at a couple of my sort of statements showing the rides that I've taken, and they're so variable that they range anywhere from 60 cents to almost $9.
wow.
And there's no rhyme or reason to it because I've got a $30 trip that had a 60-cent booking fee, and I have, um, I don't know, I have a $28 trip that has a $6.15 booking
So,
fee.
so the booking fee is coming out of your pocket or the rider's pocket?
It's coming out of the fare.
Oh, okay. And then so
And
after
when we
that, so they're
receive,
doing the same thing basically. You know how Lyft does it, like, oh, your 70/30 split after our external expenses. So variable external expenses too. So pretty much the same thing, right? So as a veteran, you saw right through that, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
But how is the demand? I mean, are they able to, look, they're not a small company. They're a multi-billion dollar European company. I'm
yes,
sure they have more money than Hovr, you know, who is the local, challenger to the duopoly, let's say.
yeah.
Um, and they're probably spending some money on marketing. Are you getting trips when you flip your app on?
Absolutely getting trips, but I think it's, customers have no loyalty to a platform, right? And that most of them are shopping for price. And most of the customers that I get in, they have both Uber and Lyft in their phone. Then they hear about Hop, they give it a try. They're getting 35 to 50% discounts. And so, I'm seeing from people that there's no loyalty to them, and that they will shop around that get the lowest fare because they're getting a 50% off from Hop, and they'll use Hop, they'll use the
Yeah,
discounts out, and then shop between them.
yeah. Well, there should
So
be
there
loyalty.
is demand,
Yeah.
but I unfortunately the thing that I discovered, and we tried really hard to understand what are we seeing and what are we getting, because what we see on the incoming card, the offer card, is actually the rider payment.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
on Uber and Lyft, when we see an offer card come in, we're seeing our pay, right?
That's interesting.
But
Okay.
on Hop, we're seeing the full fare with taxes included. It's what the customer is paying. So it's very misleading.
And with that variable booking fee, you don't know what you're going to get at the end.
Absolutely not.
What the hell? That
Exactly.
sounds more hocus pocusy than Lyft actually. So like,
Very frustrating. So I rarely do any trips from them because it's so misleading. I have no idea how much I'm gonna get.
wow, it's like the Forrest Gump thing, right? You know, you box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. But okay, let's talk a little bit about your typical day. Like you wake up and you go fire. Oh, by the way, so I want to go back to what you said. You have a Galaxy. I've been always on Androids. I have the latest one, but I even with the latest one with enough memory, if you fire up 4 or 5 different apps on, it does seem like things slow down or get sticky a little bit, right? So what I recommend to you, and it's an easy fix, and to a lot of people, I have two Androids. My old one I kept, and when I got the new one, so all I do is I put a couple of apps that I, infrequently use on those on that phone. And how I
Right.
run it is I run it off the hotspot of my main phone, create a Wi-Fi connection. You don't have to spend any money. You already have the phone. All you have to do is just connect it and put a couple of apps there. So take the load off your actual accepting and doing the trips phone. So you may want to try that. You can just go buy like $100 Android and connect it you should be able to
I
do that.
have been trying that with my tablet.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's my carrier and the signal for data or whatever, I don't know.
Well, make sure
But
your
I mean,
hotspot is
I'm using
unlimited and
Maximo, I'm using Uber, Lyft,
yeah.
Maximo, Waze for navigation,
Okay.
and yeah,
Yeah, make sure your hotspot is unlimited and pretty decent speed because you may have to pay a little extra for that, but some hotspots are not as good as others. But okay,
right.
so let's go back to your schedule, your typical day. So you wake up, have your breakfast or whatever. Are you, by the way, I know who you are, but for our audience, so are you like we have two unions at Rideshare Guy. Um, are you a cherry picker or are you an ant?
I am absolutely a cherry picker. I'm a cherry picker at heart. You know what? You're offering me garbage, I ain't taking it.
There you
I
go.
know
See,
my
I'm being
value. Uh, there's
so
occasionally,
yeah.
um, like I posted on X earlier today, that I took a trip for a reason. It would be a trip that I wouldn't normally take. It was a 40-minute trip during a rush hour period,
Hmm.
but the suburbs weren't doing so hot, and it's like, you know what, I need to get where the action is. So I
Yeah.
actually took a longer trip
Okay.
to downtown. It was a 40-minute trip. It would be something I wouldn't normally take because I knew the pay was substantially reduced.
Yeah.
We're a newer upfront market, so
Okay.
I took it to reposition
There you go.
and to make sure that I'm not deadheading all the way,
There
right?
you go.
At least I get something for repositioning myself.
The three P's, remember, three P's, patience, position, and planning. You gotta have those three P's.
Yeah,
Um, okay. By the way, are you full-time, part-time, weekend warrior? What kind of driver?
I am part-time,
Okay.
but I'm finding that I have to increase the amount of time that I spend on the road,
Okay.
and I'm still earning less than I used to
Okay. When did Upfront Fair show up, by the way, in Toronto?
last October.
Oh, you just got it. Yeah, well, okay, let's go there because I'm sure you watched Len's interview on Show Me the Money on Tuesday,
Yep.
and I'm sure you read Uber's official response saying that misleading dreamer or something they called the professor. I don't know.
We
Um,
know we know Uber very well. They always gaslight drivers, right?
you know. But what do you think? Since you had rate cards and last October you went to Upfront Fairs. What do you think? You're making more, less, the same? What's happening?
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I'm data driven, and I've been doing advocacy here up here in Canada for about 8 years.
Okay.
Because there isn't a lot of people speaking out, right?
Mm,
And so a friend of mine and I, we actually we became registered lobbyists here. So we're registered to lobby the city and lobby the province. Um, and we do a lot of research. So we're data driven, and we're very fortunate because we are um, heavily, or not heavily, I guess. We actually have to have licenses to operate here. We're
okay.
governed under the same the law bylaws as taxis and limos. So we
Okay.
actually have private transportation company driver licenses.
Okay.
And part of that licensing structure is the data has to be provided to the city.
Okay.
Um, and so we're data driven, and we do freedom of information requests all the time. We have allies that also do a lot of research and use that data. And we've done a number of reports. We've, co-authored. We've partnered. We've initiated. We've done all kinds of stuff. And we did a study. We did a small sampling of trip offers and trips after October 8th. And a sampling of approximately 250 trips showed that trips from 9 kilometers and longer have decreased in pay between 17 and 30% over the previous rate card.
Yep. That kind of corroborates with what Len figured out with
Yep.
his 20 some thousand trips and what Oxford College figured out with 1.5 million trips and what Gridwise figured out with 1.8 million data points. So,
Yeah, we
So
had
much for that.
84 million trips that were also studied
Yeah.
by U of T researchers. They were hired by the city of Toronto to show that the median earnings for drivers after expenses is actually about 5.97 an hour in the city of Toronto. So there's a
So
lot of data
yeah.
that refutes all of the talking points that Uber constantly spews.
Yeah, well, they gotta do what they gotta do.
Yeah,
Nobody
I
believes it. In
know.
fact, we're about to put a poll. Well, this will go out. I don't know when this interview will go out, but we're about to put a poll
Uh-huh.
asking our audience to vote who they believe. Do they believe Len Sherman or do they believe Uber's statement? So we're gonna put a poll there. So make sure you go vote. Um,
I will definitely vote. Definitely.
so we were talking about your typical day, right? I mean, the good thing about this apps is the only advantage that I see we have is like we can turn the app off, do one trip or 100 trips or whatever. That's the only thing we have. Other than that, I don't think we have much more. But so talk to me a little bit about your typical day. How many hours you drive? What do you do? What days you drive? Because
My
you're a
my
cherry picker. So
I tend to stick more to Monday to Friday.
okay,
I am a part-timer increasing my hours.
okay,
Only because I need to, because the we do have huge numbers of drivers. And I have to, in order to, if I'm cherry picking, I have to drive more in order to have more to cherry pick from.
okay.
But I typically do a split shift, and I'm working usually like Sunday through Thursday. Friday nights and Saturday nights suck here.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely, because all the part-timers come out,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
All the part-timers come out, and you know what? After almost 10 years, I did about 6 years of full-time nights only, did the bar crowd and everything else. I don't want the bar crowd at
Yeah.
all.
I don't blame you.
So I do a split shift. I do as early as I can get out in the morning, although I have a lot of trouble getting out super early. And I will work until it's dead, and then I'll go home, chill
Okay.
out, go back out in the early evening, and work anywhere up to about 4 hours.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's I would recommend that to pretty much everyone because there's dead zones or dead times for sure.
Midday,
Unless you're doing
midday
some
and early
delivery apps. Do you do
afternoon.
any deliveries? Do you do any of the dabble into deliveries or I like doing deliveries by the way, so
I don't. I
you don't?
don't. Our pay was substantially reduced in July of 2020. So our average delivery, if an average delivery was $10, it was slashed to about $3.
No tips?
Mm. There are tips, but we have a huge problem here with tip baiting.
Oh yeah, Uber Eats still has that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm not
So
a fan.
you've been at
I
it
I
for
used to do some delivery during, like the early 2020
those were the
when
those
it was
well
really good.
pandemic days, right? Those were the good
Yes.
days, yeah. So we I talked to you about pretty much anything I wanted to talk to you about, but I forgot to ask you this, which I was gonna, but now I'm gonna ask you. Give me two things you like about the gig economy in general. Give me two things. I'm not gonna say just rideshare because you're on four different, well, actually rideshare, yeah. You're on four different rideshare platforms now. And give me two things you dislike about rideshare.
Okay, two things that I like about rideshare.
Mm-hmm.
It's an adventure every single day. I
Okay.
don't know where I'm gonna go, and I don't know who I'm gonna meet.
Okay.
I've always felt that way.
Okay.
And the other thing that I like about it is that you may only have someone in your back seat for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You have an opportunity, and so does your rider, have an opportunity of having a profound effect in their lives or your life,
There you go.
right?
That's wonderful. Well, that comes with a good attitude though. That comes from you though, right? Because it's you. So I can tell. I'd rather be in your car than some smelly driver's car who cannot speak English probably.
Thank
But
you.
give me two things. Well, two things you dislike about rideshare.
two things I dislike about it is that these corporations, yeah, I get that they're money driven. I really do.
Yeah,
But I also come from, decades of customer service.
yep,
And if they had happy drivers,
yep,
they wouldn't have the turnover and they wouldn't have the problems that they have, right?
yep. Well, why do you think they do that? Why do you think they're okay with having 80% turnover in less than 6, 8 months? Do they believe there's always a sucker born every day, or what's happening?
Yeah, probably. We're a dime a dozen.
Okay, yeah,
We're
yeah.
a
I'm
dime a
gonna.
dozen.
I was gonna ask you that, but I'm gonna ask you now. Do you guys have autonomous vehicles up in Toronto yet?
The
Waymos and things like
No,
that?
we
No?
do not.
Okay.
And they've been. I don't think that there is enough. Like they don't have an open door from the government. The
Oh,
government has to
regulations?
approve this kind of stuff. But we recently, so a few years ago, those little pink robots that were delivering
Oh,
were
yeah,
banned,
yeah.
right? They were banned in the city of Toronto.
See, that's good.
But recently, I guess the province overrode the city of Toronto and are allowing these little autonomous mini things that look like a combination smart car, something else, to
Okay.
start delivering in the city of Toronto. And they basically overrode the city to
Wow.
allow these things.
Okay. Well, they're coming, but hopefully not as soon as the US for you guys. Um, Canada obviously is a market I'm not too familiar with, but I am familiar with because we have viewers in Canada as well. You know a lot of people in the US, drivers, right? You're part of Coast to Coast. I see you there once in a while.
Yes, I
What,
am. I
what,
try to be there every Monday at 7 p.m.
that's a good group. That's a good group. And what do you think the main differences are between the US and Canada as far as rideshare is concerned?
The main differences, I'll be honest. Somebody asked me a question about whether I would drive rideshare in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest. I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I've seen some wild videos of passengers sitting behind
Mhm.
drivers with fucking
I know.
guns
It's all good.
stuck in their back and knives. I'd be terrified.
It's all
I'd
good.
be terrified.
Yeah, no, I think Canada may be a little bit safer.
I
I want to
agree.
ask you something else before we finish. So a couple of episodes ago on Show Me the Money, we started talking about, look, we're all doing this for the money. If anybody says, "Oh, I'm just doing it to get out of the house," no, your
No, no, no,
expectation,
no. It's show me the money.
exactly, your expectations are you're gonna make something. I'm not telling you you're gonna be profitable or whatever, whatever, but we're all out there for the money. We're not out there for
Yeah.
socializing, okay? Although it's a great aspect of rideshare, don't get me wrong, like you
Uh-huh.
said, right? But I just actually the article probably going to go out this week. I wrote an article for our blog about financial, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual toll rideshare takes on a human, which I think is not talked about enough because it's not
You're
about
right.
just money, because we pay a price. Although
Yes, we
it's an
do.
easy job, point A, point B, whatever. We're dealing with 20, 30 people a day that we don't even know who we are. And remember what our parents said, don't get in a car with a stranger, right? Well, that's what we're doing. So talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about outside the financial aspects, the
You
physical,
know,
emotional, mental.
it definitely has had an effect. Um, you know, Physically, it has a major impact on your health, and that you're sitting on your ass all day long,
Yeah.
right? Or however many. And many of us don't get up and walk around often enough, or we don't get up and, go to the gym or whatever to, it's not just the physical toll, but, the emotional, um, um, a toll of sitting all day long, isolated from other drivers. Um, it takes a huge toll on your body. I personally have had, negative impacts health wise. And I'm working on it.
No,
Working on it.
yeah, and I mean, you have plus you have the anxiety if you have bills coming up, the mental stress is there, or you have
Oh
an
gosh, yeah.
a-hole in the back seat, I mean, things
Oh yeah.
happen.
And there's things like deactivation. Sergio, between Uber and Lyft, I've been deactivated 9 times.
What?
All of them were false complaints. Thankfully, I'm like, I should have been a lawyer or something
Mm,
because, I make sure I'm one of those people that I have to know the terms and conditions inside and out. I have to know the contracts inside and
okay,
out. I have to know the community guidelines inside and out. And I use that to argue, right?
okay,
And I have a dash cam. I've had a dash cam for 7, 8 years now. I'm on my third dash cam, and I have one piece of advice: don't cheap out on a dash cam. My first one was $30. It lasted 6 months. It was single vision, but it was all I could afford.
yeah,
The second one was $55 and crapped out before I was involved in an accident. Then I saved my money, and I even had a couple of riders say, "You need a dash cam. Here's $50 towards buying a dash cam." Honestly, customers gave me money to help
awesome.
me buy one, and I ended up with a Vantru N2 Pro.
Yeah,
Great camera.
it's a must. Dash cam is a
So
must.
it is absolutely an investment in your future, and it can save you from so many headaches. And it's the dash cam combined with my knowledge of all of these things to do with the companies in the industry that allows me to fight to get back on.
Well, cat
I
with
also
nine
use my
lives.
allies too. I'm not above going to the media. I'm not. I've been written up a few times about deactivation, and yeah, I'll fight tooth and nail.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to, right? You have to stand up for yourself because these companies don't care.
Yep.
So I will have a couple of minutes remaining. I want to give you the floor. You can talk about anything. You've lived the life, you've had experiences in rideshare, in corporate America, pretty much everything. And give our audience some advice. That's how we finish all these episodes. It could be
Oh,
about
some
anything.
advice.
I can see you have a wonderful attitude,
Uh,
but,
Thank you.
um, but
Hey,
look, give us some sage advice.
oh,
Pressure.
find a way to deal with the stress.
Okay.
Do something that helps you to relieve your stress. I like to go for walks in the woods.
Okay.
Get connected to the energy that nature has to offer. It really can help you. It not only helps with your mental health, it helps with your physical health. And that's really, really important. Um, Eat properly. Don't eat all the junk garbage while you're driving. Pack a
Yeah.
lunch or pack some, healthy snacks like me. It's like celery sticks and a boiled egg or something,
Yeah.
um, because all that other garbage is not good for you.
Yeah.
Um, know how to get out of a negative headspace. I use music takes me to a different place, so I'll put on, for me it's old school jams. It takes me back to when I was a kid or a teenager. I sing a few songs and my mindset is changed.
Yeah.
Don't take that negative energy from the last crappy customer into the next customer. Stop, take a break. um, don't stay out there for hours and hours with no rides. Go home and do something productive. Do your bookkeeping. Do your job searching if that's what it is. Build your bookkeeping suite, whatever. Do something more productive and then go back out at a more productive time, a busier time when there is surges.
Yeah.
Study your market. Know what people are doing. What patterns do people have, right? Know your events that are happening if that's important to you. We have like a website called BlogTO where you can go and find out what's happening locally as far as entertainment events, festivals, things like that. Know about the sports teams and everything else. And probably one of the other big things is know the rules of the road in your city. Get to know your city.
Oh,
If you don't know the
yes.
city that you're operating in, you're a new resident or whatever, go and drive that city. Go
Okay,
drive
folks.
around,
Okay,
waste some
here.
gas, and get to know it.
Erla just read the Bible for rideshare right there. If you guys don't learn anything from her, quit driving, delete the app, do something else. Because here's Earla from Toronto, Canada, and universal language of rideshare. She has it down. Listen to her. And Earla, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thank you, Sergio. It was a
stay
pleasure.
healthy and be safe. And I am
You too.
sure our paths are going to cross again. So,
Look forward to it.
all
Thank you
right,
so much.
you take care.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Behind the Wheel on the Rideshare Guy. We've been doing these interviews for the past 6 months with very successful drivers from different cities around the nation. Click here for another episode. Make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications for other episodes of Behind the Wheel as well as amazing content on our channel.